Platemark is a podcast about prints and the printmaking ecosystem. In every episode, we'll hear from people who occupy various roles in that ecosystem. I am your host, Ann Schaefer. I'm an independent curator, and I work to promote prints and printmaking through this podcast, through organizing fine art print fairs, and also organizing exhibitions. The goal of the pod is to demystify the world of prints and printmaking, which can be technically challenging, and to demonstrate the range of opportunities to work in this charming corner of the art world. This is a show that takes you behind the scenes to expose the generous, collaborative, and creative people working to better the world one print at a time. Today, we are celebrating the 100th interview of Series 3 of the pod. We've done more than 100 if you count the History of Prints series and also the first series that I did way back when in 2021. But this one is celebrating 100 interviews, and so we thought we'd turn the tables. I'm sitting in the hot seat this week, and my friend Stacy Kincaid is interviewing me. Now, Stacy is not an art historian. She's not a prints person per se, but she's a woman who teaches Spanish at the high school level and middle school level, and also is a very wonderful yoga teacher and is interested in creating a podcast of her own. So we thought we would put her in the interview seat and see how it felt. I should also say that Stacy and I have ridden bikes together for many years. We have traveled the world, if you can believe it. The photograph that is used on the cover art for this week's episode is Stacy and I on the coast of California on a really wonderful biking trip we took with several friends. So we've got a long history of talking about the world and our place in it while riding bikes through the roads of Baltimore County. So what you're going to hear is two friends yik-yakking about the making of the pod and why it exists and how it came to be and all that stuff. So it's really my backstory. All right, let's see. The housekeeping. I identify as a cishet white woman, and I use the pronouns she, her. I record Platemark in Baltimore, Maryland, which is the land of the Piscataway Conoy people. There are no images today. We're just talking woman to woman over coffee. So there's nothing to see over in the show notes, but they're there just in case you want to check them out, as usual, at platemarkpodcast.com. You can also hit the support and donate button and help me keep the lights on. As you know, it's just me. All right, let's get rolling. Just for all the listeners, this is my friend Stacy, who is a brilliant, brilliant woman and a lovely friend. And so we decided to do something which is a little unusual. We're flipping the pages. So I'm in the hot seat, and it's to celebrate the 100th interview that we're doing on Platemark. So that's why we are here. Well, why don't you tell people a little bit about you before we start talking about me?
I have been a teacher. Mostly a Spanish teacher for about 30 years, middle school and high school, and dabbled in a bunch of different kinds of jobs within schools, independent and public. And I have a deep and abiding love of radio and podcasts. I could call myself an addict and have always just been intrigued. And so Anne's been generous enough to lend me some time to kind of play with this.
The thing that I just find so amazing about you is your passion for your multi-pronged career, which hits on educating young people and also educating older people, well, any people, about yoga and self-care. And it's such an important thing. And I don't know how you do it. So hats off to you.
Thanks. I feel like teaching is just like the gift, and it is literally the hardest thing I do and the thing I feel like I have talent at, and it's just I can't help myself. I got to keep doing it, whether it's Spanish or yoga or whatever. I can't shut up.
But that's good for a podcast host.
Well, and I'm not even sure that yoga would be my thing necessarily. I sort of feel like if the definition of do you have a podcast in you is what could you talk about endlessly, I feel like talking to teenagers and hearing teenagers is critical, and so many adults don't do a good job of it. And what is it that kids need to be hearing from us right now? When I started just writing, what do I feel like I could talk about and what does the world need to hear? I feel like teens are in crisis and could use some extra attention.
Well, that brings up an interesting question, which is the podcast aimed at teenagers listening to an adult talk to them, or is it aimed at older people who also have teenagers in their lives and need guidance on how to talk to them?
Yeah. I feel like it's parents and teachers and people who are working with young people who need the most amount of education. And that said, I would love to use teens in the podcast. I would love to hear their voices because they explain it so much better than we do of where adults are missing the mark and how they're not reaching them. I'm reading this great book right now called 10 to 25, How to Motivate Young People. And, just some central tenets, and some of it seems rather commonsensical, but it's incredibly well researched. It's just like kids and adults too are looking for status, they're looking for belonging, and they're looking for a way to make a difference and have purpose. And so how can you create more of that? And I think sometimes we either stifle kids or we don't know how to lay out the building blocks for them. So it's a lot about how to ask them questions so they can figure things out on their own and build those little islands of competence.
The other interesting thing about tackling a topic that has to do with teenagers is that there's an endless supply of people who come into that part of their lives, either being teenagers or dealing with teenagers, and then they pass out to the next stage, right? So there's always this next group, a fresh audience. So on that count, you probably do have a little hook, as it were.
That's a good point. There's always adults in crisis trying to figure out teens.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I have, you know this, I have two boys, and most people listening know that I have two boys. So I never went through the daughters screaming, "I hate you" part of the teenage thing, which I don't remember if you did or not as badly as some
I didn't have "I hate you," but we had definite conflicts. Yes.
I didn't have that at all. Wyatt was sort of sassy at me for a little while at age 13 or something, but it passed.
But that was it.
That was it. And they still love their mama.
That's so cool. You did your job right.
Yeah, I feel lucky for sure. Yeah.
I think there's something about women too, trying to separate and create your own identity from your mom. You just really have to dig into it to be able to make the leap. And so it becomes more painful, more awkward, I think.
Right.
But now we're good.
Right. Thank God. I'm sure people also know this about me, that my mom died when I was little. So right at the moment that I was about to go, fuck you,
Yep.
She was no longer there. So that was never a part of how I developed, which might be one of my problems. I mean, it's a pretty big developmental step, honestly.
Exactly. You never got to separate from your mom in a developmental way. You just had her ripped from you.
Right. Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun.
Talk about impactful. That just, ay.
Yeah, I think the older I get, the more I understand. Well, I feel also that we have the vocabulary now that we didn't have when we were young. Like I never would have described my childhood as traumatic or trauma-filled. We had enough money to eat. We had a car in the driveway. I went to school. Like there was no hardship in that sense. But the emotional hardship of losing a parent, of course, is a gigantic trauma. And now I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I never,
Absolutely.
trauma was not a vocabulary word we used.
And did you feel like there were adults in your life who knew how to talk to you at that point?
I had a couple of surrogate moms over the course of my teenagehood. I don't know that they were actively trying to be that for me. I mean, I think they felt badly, obviously, but I think I laid that label on them more than they probably were happy with.
Fascinating.
Yeah. I don't know. It was hard. I don't know. You sort of decide you're an independent island at that point, and you're just like, it's just me. I got to fend for myself and try and be as kind and warm a person as she was, and hope that you get along in the world and people care about what you say and do and love you and whatever.
That's interesting that you kind of chose as a coping mechanism to channel who your mom was and bring more of that forth into the world.
Yeah, well, she was an artist, and so I always loved that creative part. But I met over time a couple of people, I don't even remember who they were, but they had known my mom at some point in her life. And there were people that I knew tangentially but hadn't ever spoken to as an adult, and they would describe her as being just, the warmest and loveliest and whatever. And I was like, I want to be that. I want to have people say that about me when I die.
Wow.
Yeah. And I just thought, oh gosh, I really, I like that part.
I love that. I love that people gave you that feedback and that you integrated it into who you wanted to be in the next stage of your life.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. And it's funny who you run into that had known her. Like my stepmother not fessed up. She said she had told me a long time ago that she had known my mom. I'm like, what? I didn't remember that piece.
Oh my goodness. How the heck did that even happen?
Well, this was the 70s in suburban New York. And there were this was the era of encounter groups. Remember those?
Yes.
Yes. And I think they met in an encounter group.
Was that like Marriage Encounter?
Yeah, it was that.
I remember Marriage Encounter.
Yeah, it was all
Yes.
I'm okay, you're okay, gestalt this and
Yes.
that. And my both parents, they go off for weekends to these big whatevers, and I'm sure they got a lot out of it. And we were at home going, what happened to the Twinkies?
I mean, it's kind of brilliant, actually, that was normalized to go off and have these like marriage recuperation weekends. I remember my parents coming back and just being like so lovey-dovey. And there was something that they did where Marriage Encounter would call and just let it ring once. And then you were supposed to know they're thinking about us.
Oh.
Or just as a reminder, to tap into your values. And so whenever the phone would just ring once, my parents would be like, Marriage Encounter.
I don't remember any of that, but I do remember groups. My mom was studying massage therapy at that point. So there were a lot of like people in the house, and we would all trade shoulder rubs and foot rubs. And I mean, it was very, daisy chain or what. Like it was
I feel like we grew up in the best of times, at least for little white girls growing up in the suburbs. The 70s was a pretty heady time.
Yeah, it was. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right. We had PBS and Full Bloom. We had access to all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool. And I remember thinking all the way through school that, my favorite class was going into the art room and being creative and not having to figure out what the pattern and the math problem was and, whatever else. And so I think that my heading into the art end of the world was already there, even without my mom being an artist,
Yeah.
But her interest in art just sort of solidified for me that I needed to understand what she was trying to do in her work, and which I'm not sure I do, but
Yeah.
But she was mostly a painter, sometimes a sculptor, and the other day, a childhood friend, she sent me an image of a woodblock print that my mother had done. And I didn't know that she made prints ever. And so this thing appears. I'm like, what? And it belongs to her cousin. And I wrote to I'm like, give me his email right now. He has no idea where it came from. It, was in the house and he has it now and it's his favorite thing. I'm like, if you ever want to sell it, And of course, I didn't know she made prints. I don't know where, how, with whom. Don't know if there's more. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta find one.
So how do you get your hands on this?
Well, I need to, take out a hitman on this guy. I mean,
he doesn't want to give it to you as like, I know you're the child.
Not in any way.
What?
Yeah. And it's super modernist. I talk about, growing up in the 70s. Like it's so 60s, late 60s, early 70s. It looks like all these other artists. Like, oh my God, that looks just like, whoever.
But it's cool.
Yeah.
Like it's.
That was full circle for sure.
Geez, that's so weird.
Yeah.
Because that was pretty niche, right? For her to, yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh.
my guess is that she probably was trying it out at home. Like it wasn't, a super complicated thing. Like you carve some linoleum or some wood or whatever and you ink it up and you print it. Like you don't need a press, you don't need a collaborative printer, you don't need special permission. Like you can just do it at your kitchen table. So I suspect she did them at home as an experiment and don't know what happened to them all.
So does this
You're
guy
frozen.
have any idea where he got it? Cousin.
No, I think it was in the family house and he ended up with it when, they dispersed their parents' belongings or whatever. So, yeah, he had no idea. Erg.
Shoot.
I know. Anyway.
That's such a cool story, though. I love that. That's nice.
Yeah, it was nuts. Yeah, and the print thing wasn't, for me, I fell into it. I've told this story many times. Like I wasn't going after prints as a scholar when I was in art history school. Like I was going after paintings and, the print thing sort of was a backwards step into some magical world that I now will never leave. And, it all kind of came full circle. It's great.
And was that the genesis of the podcast too? Like what got you hooked on the idea of doing a podcast?
The podcast is one of the bright lights to come out of the pandemic. A lot of people, like I consider myself to be incredibly privileged and lucky. Like I don't know directly anybody who lost a family member or, died or anything. Like we all managed to stay home and didn't have to go to the hospital and work and all that stuff. And so I had left the museum under not my own desires and was sitting at home between 2017 and the pandemic going, I don't kept applying for jobs. They were in New York. I don't know how I'm going to make that work, all of that stuff. And just spinning. And when the pandemic started in those early days, I think I really thought, Jesus, we might die,
Yeah.
And I thought, I have things to say. And so the easiest place to start was I started posting things on Facebook, and it was about, works of art that I had acquired for the BMA's collection. And it was just little thoughts about that process, but also how you're thinking about things or where you found it or how it fit in the collection. Or even I wrote about some that got away that I pitched, but they said no. And the reaction was really good to them. And I thought, interesting, but what I really would like to do is start a podcast. And I had no idea how to do it. It seemed out of reach in so many ways. And our mutual friend, Martha Lucius, who's a restaurant consultant, started one to help her as a sales funnel, to attract people to use her services as a consultant. And she said, oh, well, you need this, you need this, you need this. This is my sound guy's number. Talk to him. He'll edit for you. I'm like, oh. And so suddenly I had somebody to walk me through the steps. And I just started and things have changed a lot in the Podverse since then. Like the editing program that I use, Descript, which is brilliant, wasn't available when I started. Like I was cutting out little waveforms on an editing it was crazy. And as those kinds of things have improved, it's become much easier. It's still a lot of work, but it's become much easier. And I've gone through 3 or 4 or 5 different mics and cameras. And, in the beginning it was just straight emails out of my own email account. And now I've got one of those MailChimpy sort of things. And, you just sort of step by step, so.
Yeah. But you're indefatigable. Like you just kept morphing and reinventing, and at any point you could have just been like, oh, another busted mic, I'm out. And you didn't. You just kept going. And I just think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, thanks. Well, one of the key things that the Podverse will tell you about podcasting is that most podcasts don't make it past episode 10.
Wow.
Like they start and they realize, oh my God, this is a lot of work, and they stop. Or they run out of things to say, or, X, Y, Z. And the other thing that they say, which is critical, is to be consistent about how you release. Because if your audience expects you to release something every day and you don't, they'll wander off to another podcast. So I tried to post every week. And I was like, no, too much. Can't do it.
Yeah.
I just couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so every other week is where I've settled, and that's where I'm going to stay. Sorry, people. And I just can't do more.
But you've had demand for more. Like people, you feel like there are people who want you to produce more content.
Yeah, which is kind of fun. Yeah,
Indeed.
it is fun.
My gosh. And what's the hardest part for you, do you feel like? I was gonna predict it was the editing, but maybe that's not the case.
The editing takes the most time, for sure.
Okay.
Especially if you're a heavy editor like me, because I want to make everyone sound good. But I decided early on to do something that I think was probably foolhardy, but it seems to be something that people really love, is that I provide images to go along with the talks. Like if I'm talking to an artist, I'll have his, her work in the, in the show notes. And that seems to be very useful. And people have said to me, like I'll go back to an episode and all of those images are right there for me. And it's just so easy. And, there's all those Rembrandts or whatever it is. And now I can't not do it. But that takes a long time because you have to, here's the process.
Yeah.
So you got to find the images. So usually I'm doing screen grabs off of my computer, and then I have to write the captions because there is nowhere on the interweb that everything is in the order you want it to be in, ever. Just got to redo those. And then I build a PowerPoint presentation so that I can save each of those slides as an individual JPEG so that I can edit them into the video version on YouTube. And then I have to do the show notes. So I'm placing all of those photos and all their captions in the thing. So it's just kind of, it's a lot.
That's tedious.
It can be, for sure. And I try to sort of agree with myself that it's okay to do less of it and have fewer images. But then somebody will say something really interesting. I'm like, oh, we got to go find that.
Well, you had said at one point that teachers were using the podcast in the work. I can imagine that having the images tagged along with it is just like teacher gold. What's some of the feedback you've gotten from professors?
Yeah, I have had professors tell me that they have used parts of the History of Prince series that I do with True Ludwig, and they'll assign, listen from minute 15 to 32 or whatever, and, listen to this section about whatever it is. And that's really gratifying. I mean, and the images are there as reference. They're certainly not high quality. It's online. It's not going to be, super high def or anything. So it just sort of helps people get an idea. And then I've heard some professors who are studio art professors say that they'll assign a conversation that I had with somebody who talked a lot about some sort of conceptual thing that they go through to get to their imagery and how they layer it. And they'll say, oh, you should listen to, the episode with Emma Nishimura or whoever it is. So that's super gratifying for sure. The thing that happened when I started the podcast and the blog really was that because I hadn't been able to find a job, this is a whole other side note. When you're in your late 50s and you're in the museum world, and everybody who's hiring for the position below them has the same exact education you do and is the same age and has known you for 30 years, they don't want you coming in behind them, nipping at their heels, right? So I'm unhireable at this point, right? I mean, not only that part, which took me a long time to figure out, straight, white, female, I got no check boxes. And, I don't think I'd hire me either at this point. I just, I just turned 60. Like, why, what are you doing? So there's that piece.
The cruelty.
It is. Like the silencing of a certain age woman. It's really incredible. But the reason that I do the pod and keep doing the pod is that I wanted to be relevant without an institutional job. It seems to have worked.
Indeed, right? Because the seeking of relevance and purpose is just essential at this age for us to feel like we have something to talk about with our own kids, with our spouses, with each other, to feel like we're bringing something new. It just drives. That's what motivates me at this point, is like, how can I be relevant both to my students, to my family, to society? So hats off if you feel like this has done that for you.
Yeah, I mean, in combination with starting these print fairs that we've done, between those two things, I think and the pod definitely has led me to meeting people who are leading to other opportunities and, projects and stuff. So, I mean, it's because of the pod that I did the fair in Brooklyn, for instance, because I knew of Luther, who was the connector point, but I had never met him. So when I met him, because he'd been listening to the pod, he was like, we need to do a fair. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have an endless well of guests? Like you're just like, oh, and then there's this person, or do you go through dry spells? How does that work?
There is no end of people to talk to. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. The podverse is such an interesting place because a lot of times what happens is that they'll tell you, you'll grow your audience if you guest on other people's shows because you'll get their listeners and blah, blah. And, there's only 3 of us in the printmaking corner of the podverse. And I've traded episodes with, but what happens out there in the wellness field or, the business, whatever, that they're all trading episodes. And so it's the same guests. And then you run out of people because there's only so many, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, and there's only 3 of us, like you have to go out to the makers and the professors and the curators and, there's no end of them. No end.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Well, and one of my good colleague, good friend, Miranda, who has the podcast Hello Print Friend, she talks to mainly artists and then printers as well. But I go digging into history. Like I'll talk to an old master, print dealer or a curator or a conservator, or like I want to hit a wider swath of the jobs that are in this space,
So do you feel like that's your signature? That's what makes your podcast unique from the other 2?
I think so. Yeah. It goes into many different directions, plus the history of prints, which I think is a service. There's a rare school that will offer a class in the history of Western printmaking. And it's such an interesting and deep and exciting to me history. And to be able to get who I think is the best person to ever deliver a lecture about the history of prints, to actually record it and get it out there for students to be able to use is a real service.
Valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
super
exactly.
valuable. So
you 2 make it fascinating, even to someone who wouldn't have any interest in that, just like the most compelling story.
Yeah.
It's really well done.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's hard because it's a specialized vocabulary. Like it's a little cult, really, right? We have our own language. We, if you're in, you're in. If you're not, you're not.
Right.
Yeah.
And to bring that to a layperson is quite an achievement.
It's hard. It's hard. And I told this story on another episode that I was working with this podcast coach, Jeremy, who's fantastic. Scrappy podcasting. He's great. And so he did this whole audit on my pod, listened to, I don't know how many episodes, doesn't matter. And I was meeting with him for our 3rd hour-long review meetup, one-on-one. And he said, I just got back from my honeymoon and I have to show you something. And he reached down and he said, after listening to your podcast on our honeymoon, I bought a print.
That's adorable.
It's so cute.
I bought a print.
Like I hooked you, even though it's specialized and hard and weird and technical and
right. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Well, are there any guests that are out there that you're like, oh, if only?
Sure, of course there are.
Yeah.
It's always a mix, though. Like the artists intimidate me more than any other guests. Like I can sit down with a printer, and talk shop anytime. But the artists, you have to have some grasp on their conceptual thinking about their work. And sometimes it's super esoteric. And I'm like, I'm not really getting that out of your work. And so sometimes I hesitate to reach out to artists that are, really up here in the stratosphere because I'm like, they'll never talk to me,
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, there are a couple out there, I would say.
Why do you think they wouldn't want to talk to you?
Oh, good question. They probably would. I'm just intimidated.
I see.
I'm self-censoring.
Okay. So you feel like they're going to be talking about their concept on this kind of level and you're not going to be able to ask the right questions to unpack that? Or like what's the actual fear?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm a very what you see is what you get person, WYSIWYG, as they would say in the Adobe land. And I love when there are layers of thinking and thought in the work, but sometimes the way they talk about the work, not them necessarily, but how their work gets written about, it's just gobbledygook, this international art speak, and it's all bull. And I
Wow.
just want them to, art's not supposed to be harder for people to get in, right? It just irritates me. So if they've got this kind of aura around them where everyone's like, ooh, the interstitial space, the liminal space, I'm like, what are you talking about? So, yeah.
Well, you're right. You're the translator of all of that, of the international art speak to the layman, and this is like such a talent. Tell me about someone who you were surprised to get, like a guest that you were like, oh, I can't believe I got this person.
I think my special sauce is that except for those artists in the stratosphere, that I treat people just like people, and I think that's why my interviews usually go off script. Because I just want it to be like, we're all people. You just have a cool job, and let's talk about it. I think my special sauce is disarming people and getting them to open up about, just regular stuff, not the professional. I am the professor emerita from wherever,
Yeah. Well, you're real good at that. The question of who among the folks who have passed, who would you like to have interviewed?
Oh, God. That's a good question. Let's see. Well, of course, I'd like to go back and talk to my guy, Stanley William Hayter, because that would be really a treat. But I'd also like to go back and shake the hand of, Rembrandt and say, you are such an odd little man, but your facility in your hand is so amazing. And, or Goya or somebody like that, Or one of my early loves was Charles Demuth and Edward Hopper. Like, I'd love to go talk to those guys in the early part of the century about what they see in the American landscape and how it was changing and the reaction to it and what they were really trying to say with the stuff they were doing, as opposed to the stuff we think they're trying to say.
Fascinating. Yeah. Super true. Is there anything that you wish you knew when you started that you know now about podcasting?
I think when you start a podcast, you think you're going to be able to make money doing it and that you might be able to replace your former salary at the museum by podcasting. And the truth is it's really hard, especially if you're in a tiny niche of the world of printmaking, because your audience is not gigantic, right? So nobody will advertise with you unless you have thousands and thousands of people listening, which I don't. I have hundreds and hundreds, but not thousands. And the idea of creating a special club where there's extra content is so far beyond my ability to keep up with at this point. Like, I just can't generate more as a one person. So it's a catch-22, because if I was making money, I could pay someone to help me do more and faster, but I can't because I can't get more done in order to attract, it's just sort of sitting where I am and going to stay there.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting segue to talk about how you see where this is going. And it seems like you're in a super content spot right now.
Yeah, I am. My beloved husband is always coming up with ideas to morph and change and make things better. And I'm like, no, things are really good right now. It may be relevant. Okay. I'm still relevant, and I'm still trying to grow my audience. And in the future, well, let me back up. So in the printmaking world, there aren't very many journals. There's not a lot of critical discourse in writing, in newspapers. There's no reviews of art anymore. There's no anything like that. And the one magazine that we all depended on was Art in Print. And Art in Print was a project that was valiantly undertaken for a good decade by Susan Tallman, who's been on the pod, one of my favorite episodes. She's so smart. And, we all miss it. It was the place where people who were producing new editions could sort of introduce them or pull out an ad, or Susan would have a little section where there were little blurbs about each of these new publications that were coming out. And there's nowhere for any of that stuff to go. So someone said to me recently that she felt like Platemark had taken the place of art in print, to which my eyeballs went
Wow.
completely huge and like, wow. Wow. I
That's
mean, it's
amazing.
different format. Yeah, different format, but it's a way for people to be introduced to print shops and publishers and artists who they may not have known, or if they did know them, didn't really have a sense of who those people were as people, right? And so now I feel like if people are listening and they go to a fair and they, walk up to a booth and there's a person behind the table that has been on the pod, they'll feel much more comfortable saying, oh my gosh, I heard you on the pod, or it's so great to meet you. I feel, how is that thing that you talked about going? And so I feel like it's a kind of a nexus. It's like a connector point that's helping people feel more comfortable and at ease within the ecosystem.
That's phenomenal. What an unexpected result.
I know.
That you've created and replaced something that you didn't even realize you were doing.
Yeah. It's a little nutso. Yeah. I mean, I suppose if I had a team behind me, we could make it into a sort of a news cast, something that would, I don't know, but I just, no.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be nice, like to expand it into a more of a media thing where you had multiple prongs of information going out. That would be cool for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Where would you take it?
I think, I mean, if I had a lot of money to throw at it, I would bring back art and print. Even though Susan assures me there is no way on the face of the planet that you can make it pay for itself. It's just impossible. And I would probably venture into the, documentary film stories about either art history itself or current, work that's going on. Although I will give a nod to Miranda over at Hello Print Friend, because she's been doing some documentaries. She's done 2 so far. One about the printmaking scene in Oaxaca, Mexico, and the second one is about the printmaking scene on Puerto Rico. So she's kind of running with it, which is great. Yeah, I think it's just awesome.
Good for her. That takes a lot of capacity, I imagine.
She has a small team, but yes.
Do you remember any funny stories or crazy things that happened during a podcast? Something unexpected?
Yeah. The most unexpected things are usually the technical flubs where the internet connection is so bad that you either have given up in the middle of it, or which has happened to me on several occasions. And I had an artist out in San Francisco, Art Hazelwood, who I was trying to do an interview with, and we tried twice from his own house, and his connection was so bad that he ended up going to his friend, the artist David Avery's house, and recording from his desk.
No way.
Yeah. Like, oh my God.
Did you then get an interview with David Henry?
I had done one with David Avery, so that was already done. Or then I had an interview that I did with Jillian Ross, who lives in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and the connection was pretty good as we were doing the recording, but when you finish recording, as I told you at the head, it takes a while for the files to churn and upload completely so that I can grab them and, let you go. And I had to make her walk away from her laptop for about 6 hours. And usually it's instantaneous.
Yeah, 6 hours.
Like, just, put a piece of tape over the camera and walk away, will you?
Okay. That's how long it took for the files to kind of consolidate and, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can fish them out later from the back end, but it's a pain in the butt. And, it's like, you just don't know how long it'll take. So you're like, just walk away. I'll hang up the call as soon as we're done,
Yeah. But that's amazing that it'll kind of fix all of the mistakes, consolidate it in a way. Or are there some that you just have to toss out because they're no good?
Sometimes, I mean, the files that get uploaded right after are the raw footage of what we've done. So everything that we have said, if we've paused because we've had a bad connection, or at the beginning we were just chatting, like all of that will be there. And then it's our job as the editors to trim it all the easiest thing is to do a recording like we're doing, where you're sitting at your house and I'm sitting at my house, and we both have our cameras on and I'm getting two feeds, right? The hardest thing is to be sitting in the same room with somebody. Because then if you have a mic and you're across the table from me and I have a mic, you can hear each other through the mics. So you're getting this background thing. And my sound guy, Dan, who's fantastic, will have to basically let you talk, silence, my mic line, and then let mine go. Like, it's just a lot of work to get everything to, yeah. And so when I record with True, we're in the same space because he has to have me there live reacting to him in order to feel comfortable, which is fine. Fine, do it. Mm-hmm. But we both have mics. And so then it's always like, well, Dan, here are the files. I hope they're okay to. But the one time True and I took a road trip up into where were we? The Catskills, I think, to find the artist Sue Coe, who lives a little bit off the grid, a lot off the grid. And because there was not enough room in her tiny little cabin, we ended up sitting on her deck. And it was a beautiful day. It was, in the fall, it's gorgeous. And I had 3 recording devices going. I had a mic in front of her, a mic between me and True, and then my phone. And I hit record on my phone just as a backup. And I had my earphones in to try and hear everything because it's all, wired into my little digital recorder thing. And all of a sudden I hear this, and it's the wind blowing across the mic that's in front of Sue Coe. And there's nothing I can do to make it stop.
To shelter it.
For almost the entirety of the conversation. And that was like my high-end microphone, which is more sensitive in a good and bad way. But I also had one of my older mics that I had kind of tossed over the side, and it was sitting in the middle of the table between me and True, and it picked up all 3 of us, and that's the recording we used.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So the old model, Trusty and True, that was what recorded everybody, and you got rid of the high def one.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're so good at troubleshooting. You're always like, okay, well, let's try this. And I'm sure it's from all of these years of experience of trying to make this happen.
Well, yeah, it's it's a pretty steep learning curve, the technology, but you got to do it because there's no one else to do it but me.
Well, so I'm so curious to know how this world of podcasting in general is going to evolve. It's so vast, and seemingly we have an endless appetite for this medium. What are your thoughts?
I feel like there are 2 kinds of podcasts, but within those, of course, there's more striations. The one tier is the New York Times and whoever else, Joe Rogan, and all of those people who have a team behind them. Like when you listen to Serial and Sarah Koenig at the end says, sound editing by these 10 people and fact checking by these 16 people. Like, oh boy.
Yeah.
That is not what I have. And then there's all of the amateurs like me who are sitting in their home offices, putting on a show. So there's definitely kind of parallel universes going on there. And I think it's a pretty rare amateur pod that breaks through like a Joe Rogan or a Chelsea Handler or whoever is popular now, Smartless or whatever one you like. It's kind of it's a tough road, I think. And I think that's why people drop out so fast. So if you, Google or ask AI, how many podcasts are there out in the world? There's probably about 5 million, but probably 2 million of them are no longer producing anything.
Wow.
Like there's episodes sitting there, but nothing happens, Mm-hmm. So it's a moving target. It's shifting all the time. And the other thing that has happened, I don't know, the last 2 years or so, is that YouTube has really gotten in on the act. And because it is apparently the second largest, most robust search engine after Google, that it's a place of discovery for people where they feel that podcasts can be more discovered more easily. There isn't the same kind of algorithm issues that you hit with Google. It's much more direct and, knock, knock until they rewrite it or whatever. But the thing that happens is that if you produce your podcast as an audio only, as you would listen on Apple or Spotify or something, then what do you do when you go over to YouTube, right? So I produce a video version for YouTube, and I produce an audio version for everybody else. So now I'm creating these videos where, like, you and I will be sitting there talking, and if you start speaking about a certain work of art, I will put that PowerPoint slide that I've created on top of us, and and make a thing that's actually watchable. But the ones, the videos that are coming out of that upper tier that has an army of 100 people behind them, they're like animated, and they've got music, and they've got, it's high-end production, and no one's making money. I guess they're making money, but there's no, we're all doing it for the love of it.
Yeah.
So,
but you feel like at this point, you kind of, you have to make a YouTube
absolutely
video component. Wow. I was wondering why that had become a trend, and I didn't know it was like, because you pretty much have to.
I think you do. Well, so they've also added in the last maybe year or so, YouTube has added a thing where you can get it to grab your audio version. So what happens is that when you load your episode into whatever aggregator you have that will send it out to Apple, etc., it's called the RSS feed. What that stands for, I have no idea. But the RSS feed is now getting grabbed by YouTube. And so it will generate a black screen video that's only audio. Maybe it runs your cover art that has gone with the, it's just a static image. And so now I have that plus the video that I generate. So there's 2 versions on my channel for each episode. One is the video version, which I've started putting on the cover so you can tell which one is which, and the other one is just audio. So it's it continues to morph and grow. Oh
my God.
Yeah. Just try and keep up.
Yeah. That's endless.
It is endless.
So who's the third person in the space that you mentioned? The third.
The third person it's actually a pair of artists, Edie Overturf and Cammie York. They do a podcast. I think they're in Portland. It's called Newsprint. It's the 2 of them talking, and it's kind of community bulletin board. They talk about opportunities for artists and residencies and that kind of thing. And it's intermittent. It's not on a schedule, as far as I can tell. And that's kind of it. There's others. There's a person who produces a podcast that's about an even smaller part of printmaking, which is Japanese woodblock printing, called Mokuhanga. And that's all he does. He talks to artists who make that only, which is amazing to me. Cool. And then there was another one that is dormant now, but those episodes are still sitting there, which is called The Art of Print, I think, with Nick Naughton. So there's kind of a little pot, but that's it. It's amazing.
Well, I would venture to say that yours feels the most robust and consistent and spectacular.
Oh, thank you. Miranda's been doing it longer than me, and she's got, more episodes out there and more followers, but we're, here we are. We're both doing good work, and we are super cooperative with each other. And sometimes we band together, and my episode this week, as we're recording this, is with her and her husband. They've just started a print studio in Chiang Mai, Thailand, if you ever want to go there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's so ambitious.
I know.
Great for them.
Yeah.
One last question. Has there been any episode that struck a chord among your audience that you got a reaction to that you didn't expect?
Well, the funny thing about podcasting is that you don't hardly ever hear anything about anything.
No one's commenting.
Sometimes they comment on the posts I do on, to announce the episode has dropped on Facebook or Instagram. And people say, oh, yeah, that was a great episode. That's really all you hear. My brother, Ren, who you have met, is one of my most avid fans, and he listens to every episode and gives me a report, usually a few days later, and usually it's within the week of dropping it.
Wow.
Yeah. He calls and he'll say, oh my God, your conversation with that person was so interesting, and I just love what they said about this, that, and the other, and it's usually one that I thought fell flat. And I'm thinking, oh, that's not going to go very well. I mean, there are not many of them, but he's always like, he loves the ones that I'm like less sure about.
That's great.
Yeah.
And does he ever give you feedback that that one went flat, or is usually his feedback is positive?
Oh, no, usually it's positive. I mean, I'm his baby sister, you know. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, no, but he loves True. They're fast friends and they both have a deep interest in religion. Like True was brought up as a Lutheran, but is fascinated by the history because it informs art history so deeply, right? In Western studies. And Ren was a religion major at Oberlin and just retired as the music director at his Catholic church. So during one episode, we were talking about, oh gosh, I can't remember which one it was. It's probably reproductive printmaking. We were talking about purgatory. I left the Catholic Church when I was 9 and Ren returned to it after he became an adult. No, I was like, I don't know what you're doing. But anyway, there he is. And purgatory is a specific thing and True got it a little bit wrong. And so Ren said to me when he gave me the report, I need to talk to True about purgatory because that's not exactly what it is. And so when they met finally at the print fair in Brooklyn, he's like, sit down. Like,
let me explain purgatory.
He wanted to explain purgatory, and True brought it up the other night when we were recording. He's like, yeah, well, purgatory.
So he didn't take it well.
No, he'll never forget it.
Cool.
You know,
he got Rensplained.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's hard. It is hard. It's like whistling in the wind. You know, you think people are listening, and every now and again, someone will surprise me by saying, "Oh, I loved your episode." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know you were listening. I didn't know you knew it was there." You know, like colleagues, former colleagues, or professors, or people you really respect. And you're like, "You're a listener? Holy cow!"
So, are downloads still a measure of popularity or something you're trying to achieve?
Yes. Downloads are just about the only metric you can get that will tell you just about anything. I mean, you can kind of get some information on YouTube about people watching whatever video it is. That's sort of helpful. But, you know, the best advice these podcast coaches will give you is to pay attention to what the user, you know, if they're dropping off after 10 minutes, then maybe you should shorten your episodes, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I'm talking about art history. I'm not shortening it. Sorry. No can do.
You can't do it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, no. And, you know, and I'm kind of like, I would rather have this stuff out there as an archive of, you know, than shorten it because I feel like people can't pay attention anymore, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm kind of going a little against conventional wisdom, but I don't care.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this was super fun. That's all the questions that I can think of to ask.
You asked great questions. Thanks, Stacy.
Yeah.
God. Wow. It was really fun being interviewed by somebody other than an art person.
Someone who doesn't know much.
Well, no, you do because you've been listening, but yeah, no, it was really fun. And I don't know if we said at the top, but we're celebrating the 100th interview on the third series, the interview series. So this is episode number 100 of series 3. So
dang.
Yeah. So we thought we'd interview me.
It's an incredible accomplishment, Anne. Super proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah. I look back at the list of people I've talked to. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of people.
What's the number?
Yesterday, I dropped episode 86, number 86 of the interview series. I mean, I think we've done 30 something of the history, and there were 9 in the first series about, you know, museums and life in the world. So it's, you know, it's over 100 already, but this seemed like a good marker to me. Yeah. The most downloads that I've gotten on any of the episodes across all 3 series is the very first episode, which is about critiques and studio visit, which I find fascinating. That's an easy one to have students listen to because basically Ben and I were talking about what do curators look for in studio visits and what you should expect back. Don't expect too much because they can't really do anything, but know that you're in their brain. That seems to have resonated. We didn't know what we were doing then.
But that is just like essential practical information you just can't find very easily.
So it really set the tone for we're just people. Curators might look scary, but they're just people and have cool jobs, but we're all just people.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And where is Ben anyway?
Ben is in Bloomington, Indiana. He's a curator at the Eskenazi Museum at the IU Bloomington campus.
Oh, fantastic.
So he's doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As are you.
Yep. We're doing a thing. Yeah. So my last updates for the world is that we are moving forward with the Brooklyn Print Fair for next spring. We just signed our contract to help Powerhouse achieve that again, which is very exciting. And we've just canceled the Baltimore Fair.
Shoot.
Yeah. It was a lot of different factors, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Things change.
Like so many lessons learned and relationships developed from Baltimore anyway that I assume kind of funnel into Brooklyn.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and no regrets. Like it was a big piece of my relevancy campaign.
I am relevant.
God damn it. So, yeah. Anyway, how did you feel interviewing?
That was fun. That felt very natural. It is your special sauce to make people feel comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just sort of imagined what I would want to hear from people. I don't want to hear people reading from their dissertation. I want to know what you feel and think. And, the human connection piece is like, what the hell are we doing here if we're not connecting with people?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So that's sort of where I went. But I think your idea for targeting the people who are dealing with the teenage population is a good one. I haven't done any digging to see what kind of pods are out there for that. Have you found any that you're listening to?
No, I didn't do any research on that. I would have
curious to see. I don't even know what the keywords would be.
Talking to teens.
Yeah, podcast about teens. Troublesome they are. And I think there's room for solo pod. Some people do interviews, and then every fifth one, it'll be just them for 20 minutes talking about their feelings, thoughts, whatever. So I think that's something to also throw in there. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your mentorship.
Of course. I am here to help.
You're paying it forward
That's right.
from Martha.
That's my specialty. Hey everybody, thanks for helping me celebrate 100 interviews of Series 3 of Platemark. I enjoyed my conversation with Stacy thoroughly. She's a lovely, lovely woman and a really good friend, and so I just loved sitting down with her and talking the talk. As you will have heard at the top, there are no images in this episode, although I could post a ton of pictures of me and Stacy riding bikes together. Thank you, Stacy, for coming along on the ride. I so appreciate it. As usual, I'd like to thank my sound person, Dan Fury of Extension Audio, without whom I could do none of this. Thank you, Dan. And also a thank you, as usual, to Uncle Michael Diamond for the use of his original music. And also to Lee Turner and Skip Barnhart for sending me sounds from their studios that make up the intro and outro of each episode. And once again, thanks for sticking with me through 100 interviews. It feels like an accomplishment and a good goal post to celebrate. So thanks for doing it with me. All right, we'll see you next time.